Hello everybody and welcome to the very first episode of Commodore Corner, which suspiciously looks like the usual corner I talk to you from on my usual videos. But anyway, this is going to be something a little different, I hope anyway. In the meantime, just to say first of all, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. This is the Retro Bear from the Gaming Pantry. Very pleased to have you here. If you are here for the first time, welcome aboard. If you are a returning visitor, thank you very much indeed for your continued support. And as we said, this is Commodore Corner, very first episode, and during this hopefully, I will say hopefully, long-running series, given how many games I do have for the Commodore 64, I'll be playing some games from my well-sized collection. I think is probably the best way to describe it. And what we'll do, put some gameplay footage up, talk you through what I'm doing, give you some opinions about the games, and just generally review things that are like 30 years old and see if they're still any good or not. A lot of these games will be from people's views. I know there's a lot of people from across YouTube who absolutely are fascinated by the 8-bit micros, and indeed regular viewers to my channel will know that a lot of recent content has been about finding sort of a lot of these 8-bit games, which is always nice to find, and it does bring back some memories. And hopefully today a couple of real crackers for you as well. Not necessarily crackers on this particular system. So that is it. The whole purpose, Commodore Corner, play some Commodore 64 games, talk about them, show them off. That's what it's going to be. And if I get, I feel like it, we can do some Spectrum games at some point as well. That'd be quite good as well, so I've got quite a few of those. So we've got two games for you today on this very first episode. First one is a game which, unlike probably quite a lot of these games from that era, would have been something I played initially on the Amiga, because that was a system I had, although a lot of people I knew had Commodore 64s, and therefore my exposure to that was quite plentiful. So two games here today. The first one was a game which a guy at school used to rave about from being in the arcade. I'd never played it in the arcade, but he used to rave about it and say what a fantastic game it was, and then when it came announced it's going to be converted to the home systems, he was like, oh, you've got to get that. So I ordered the Amiga version. It took 5 weeks to come because we had some things as mail order back in the day. Hard to believe. And it took 5 weeks to get here. And then when it got here, it was the wrong game. It was Atari ST version. So I had to send it back. And then another 7 days later, the game arrived. And to be honest with you, it was a bit of a crushing disappointment because it wasn't anything like the arcade game, which was a fast-moving, sort of adrenaline impact action-adventure type game. And this was nothing like it. And indeed, most of the home system versions were nothing like it. There are a couple of good ones. I think it's the PC Engine or the FM Mighty Towns version, or one of those sort of obscure consoles which very few people have got. There's almost an arcade perfect version of it. And I understand the Spectrum version is pretty good as well. I never played it. I may have it. But we're talking about Chase HQ. Now, the other thing I noticed about Commodore Corner is all these games are the original ones. So this is Chase HQ. This is the size box it came in. Lovely box art, as you can see. Really, really good. Give you a shot at the back as well. Typical sort of fashion from those days, to give you some screenshots. This one here is, well, what is it? They're showing the arcade or other system. Yeah, they are showing the arcade in that one. Definitely the arcade in that one. Show you inside the box very, very quickly. We don't want to hold up that. As you can see, this one's got the ocean bag in there as well, so those people who collect the 8-bit stuff will know that's quite a good thing to find in one of these, because you don't always get the bags. And then inside there you've got, you can see there's the back of the instructions. And do I need to show you what a tape looks like? No, the tape's in there as well, you can hear it. There we go. The tape's in there as well. So, what's going to follow is me playing this game. Now, the footage I record, and I'm absolutely honestly truthful about this, is the first time I'm playing it. So we had initial problems loading this game. I have two Commodore 64s and 6 data cassettes of which to load these in. I have one very dodgy Commodore 64 computer which has got the problem with the Commodore key, which appears to be sort of welded into the keyboard. And it's not the greatest condition when it was one I picked up on a job lot years ago. And also, amongst these 6 data cassettes, this would not load on 3 of them. I nearly packed it in. So I managed to test another one, and luckily the 4th one I tried actually managed to get this to load. So obviously I've got some cleaning on my data cassettes to do as well. Anyway, Let's see how I got on with Chase HQ on the Commodore 64 for the very first game here on Commodore Corner. Okay everybody, right, let's get on with some Chase HQ action here on Commodore Corner. Now, as we said, this is my first play of this game on the Commodore 64. I've never played this previously, and those are my first impressions. And let's be honest with you, my impressions were not great. This was a pretty ropey looking old game. The only thing I can sort of take from my initial impression is green. A lot of green in this game. Now I know green is very, very sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, topical at the moment. But back in 1990 or 1989 when this game was converted, it wasn't. And yeah, it just leaves you feeling a bit sort of, well, green. Green with sickness. There's no colour in the roadside objects, as you can see, they're simply drawn in. So it almost basically looks like, without doing that particular system a disservice to those fans of that Spectrum, but it looks like a Spectrum game with the odd bit of colour thrown in here. It really does look quite appalling. We also know that the Commodore 64 was not the greatest system to have racing games on, and this one really does sort of emphasise that fact. And it's also painfully slow. It really is. I just can't comprehend just how terrible this plays. It really is atrocious, and there's just no sense of speed there whatsoever. I mean, they just look like they're objects hurtling towards you, and there just doesn't, no sort of thought has gone into it whatsoever. It really doesn't look a great game at all. Talk you very, very quickly through the sort of screen. So you can see top left hand corner there are three sort of what would be bullet hole windscreen, bullet hole type things. Those are your turbo boosts. You can use those. You've got 3 per level, but we'll talk about those more in a second. Right hand side you've got a yellow dot and a red dot. That's between you and where the guy you're chasing is, because you have to run him off the road. We'll get to that again at some point. But as you can see there, the yellow dot represents the bad guy, you're the red guy, so that gives you an idea of just how close you're going to get. You've got a score bottom left hand corner, really that doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Time, that's ticking downwards because you have to reach your target, that's the criminal, in a set in that time to get extra time to run him off the road, if that makes any sense. You've got speed in the middle, which is going up at the moment to 230, 240, and there's your distance, which also gives you a better idea of sort of how far you've got to get to meet your target. If you get within a certain number, I think it automatically gives you the extra time. And then on the right hand side you can see the gear stick, which flicks up and down, so you've got a top gear and a bottom gear. Now one thing you may have noticed, not unusually with my gameplay, is just how bad it is, but one thing I really was finding very annoying about this, when you're going around the corners, you have to, if you get sort of the way you take the corners, is it starts to pull you off the road towards whichever way you're turning, and therefore you collide with roadside objects, which is a bit strange. You sort of get into a skid and you just can't get out of it. That's really annoying. You've got messages going across the bottom of your screen as well, which tells you if you keep messing around, you're never going to catch the bad guy. Your time is going to expire, run out. So that's the sort of the chief lady type person who tells you over the phone what's going on. You can hit other cars, but that reduces your speed. You can hit roadside objects, but I wouldn't advise on it. And it just, yeah, at the moment you're just sort of racing to try and find this particular vehicle to run off the road. Now my time's run out. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, well, you could have used a turbo. I did use a turbo, but I still didn't get there. I'm right round, look, 54 away. And I think it just lets me carry on this one. I think it was feeling sympathetic towards me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether you actually lose a life for a credit. I know there is a credit system on this, so you are able to sort of continue. Of course, in the arcade game, when you sort of there we go. Right, so we found the target vehicle identified by that big red arrow, which says here. I think it's very useful to point those things out. And then the idea is you have to ram that vehicle off the road. On the left hand side now you'll see there's a blue bar with some green stripes in it. That's the damageometer. I've just made that up. But that's the damage meter basically. So you have to get that car, all that meter, all the way to the top. It will change colour as it goes along. Green is sort of very poor. Then you sort of get into yellow, which means you did a bit better. And then red obviously means you're getting quite close. And little things like you see puffs of smoke coming at the back of the white car. And you'll see some flames hopefully a bit later on as well. But the idea is, obviously you have the time element about it. You don't want to use all your turbo boosts at once, just trying to get close to the criminal, because you've still got to run him off the road, and you can't pick up extra turbo boosts, so you're stuck with what you've got. And that's why it's best to save it for the very end, because what you can then do is speed up behind the criminal, like I'm just doing now. I say speed up, it's moving at a very, very slow speed, but you get the idea. And then by doing that, you can see you can sort of continually ram. What you're trying to get basically sort of like a double or a triple ram, which just sort of increases your chance of knocking them off the road. Nice little touch, the flashing light on top of the police car, and also at the top of the screen there you can see the red, white and blue flashing lights as well. I'm getting very close on this one. We've got 29 seconds on the yellow, ticking down at the moment, and getting very, very close indeed. So this is basically Chase HQ, which is not a very fun experience, to be honest with you. Fantastic, there we go. So we have managed to beat the bad guy, knock him over, and park up very, very slowly, block the road off, and arrest him for first-degree murder, or suspicion of. So he's actually been, not actually him, he might be something, might be completely innocent, who knows, I don't know. So, yeah, not a great game playing experience, let's be honest with you. But then again, was it ever likely to be? The arcade game was a big sort of hulking speed machine of a game. And very sort of high energy, high octane, high entertainment. This is exactly the opposite. And it's a multi-load. Now, those of you who don't know what multi-load is, yes, the game loads in, you then play the level, and then it loads in the next one. And the worst thing about it is, if you are new to these sort of games, is that if you fail the level that you load in, you then have to rewind to where you were previously to load the next one in. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with stage 2. I shall therefore sum up my findings as we wave goodbye to Chase HQ. So what are we saying about that? Well, not a lot you can say, is it? It's an appallingly bad conversion. I think everything about it is just terrible. We know the Commodore 64 doesn't have a great reputation for racers, and this does not enhance that reputation one bit. I don't know what was going on with the music, because I think the music may have come from Jonathan Dunn, who was one of probably the most prominent 8-bit, or certainly Commodore 64 composed the music anyway. I dare say his music was used on other computers as well, but you know, the Commodore 64 had its wonderful sound chip inside it. So I don't understand why that was a horrible, horrible rendition of the arcade game. The loading screen was terrible as well. I mean, that doesn't look anything like the loading screen. I know it's not meant to, but whoever did the car, the yellow car on the loading screen, hopefully I've got a screenshot here going in now. Oh dear mate. I mean, they got Charles Bronson looking all right. I mean, it's not Charles Bronson, but looking pretty good. That guy, not so good. But that was terrible rendition on the artwork. Can I recommend it? I can't recommend this in the slightest to anybody on the Commodore 64. My advice, if you are so inclined to track down the ROM of the actual arcade version and play it as it was, or you know those obscure consoles which I just can't remember the name of at the moment, or even the Spectrum version, I've still got to try that out for myself. But Commodore 64 Chase HQ, no, not very good at all. So, not off to a good start, but not to worry, because there is another game. And another game I played on the Amiga, which I didn't have. Now, I think I got this one through nefarious means, backup. And I'd heard so many great things about this game. In fact, I don't think there is possibly a poor conversion of this game. Do correct me if I'm wrong, please do. I'm not here to be a historian or an expert on these sort of things. But I'm not sure there was a bad version of this game. I played the Amiga version. I didn't get anywhere near finishing it, probably about 3 levels in, maybe, I think it was. And when I say level, I mean worlds in, you know what I mean? So it was like different, as you'll see in the game, there's different sort of levels to each sort of world. So I think about 3, you know, I think I didn't get very much further than that. Not a massive platform game fan, but this one got a massively good reputation of being a built-in conversion of a pretty good arcade machine. And what we got here is Rainbow Islands. Now look at that front cover there. I mean, some, you know, sort of modern day equivalent sort of art designs, probably Cuphead. It's got a very sort of like 30s style animation to it. But look at that, you can tell here just by the eyes on the characters, it's definitely sort of going for that sort of, you know, 1930s look to it. And absolutely brilliant. I mean, how you would not want to sort of play that. Again, we've got some arcade screenshots on the back. There we go. But this was the sequel to Bubble Bobble. Bubble Bobble, try saying that very quickly. Which was, again, very well received. And that was a very good conversion as well. This one, though, I think, was probably one of the very best. Again, we've got a nice little ocean baggie on the inside. There's the instructions. There's the tape. So, done very well with those two. I picked 2 games. These, honestly, I've got six boxes. 5 or 6 boxes of Commodore games. On top and other ones elsewhere, but I picked this first of all. This and Chase HQ right at the very, very top, so that's why I started with that box and hope to go on with. So this is a platform game, very, very, very simple, which I'll describe to you in a minute. And yes, it's regarded as one of the classics. Let me see how I get on. Again, playing this for the very first time in a number of years. I may have played this possibly about 10 years ago when I first got a Commodore 64. Might be one of the first games I played along with Beachhead and Commando. So let's see how I get on for the first time in 10 years in this upcoming piece of footage. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, here on Commodore Corner, let us now have a go at the genius that is Rainbow Islands. And the first thing that strikes you about this game is possibly the slightly strange scrolling. This, I think, is down to the video capture. It is a lot smoother in all fairness. So I do apologise for that. But yes, this game when it first came out, I remember it being described as sort of, the Amiga version was a lot clearer, obviously, because it was double the power of this. And the Amiga's version described as sort of arcade perfect. I don't think this was, you know, as well described that, but a lot of people were very, very impressed with just how good this game was. The concept is very, very simple. I think you have 3 or 4 mini world levels to clear, so round 2, and then you get an end level boss before you then move on to the next world. There's various sort of beasties knocking you around, and there's various sort of things to pick up. You can see diamonds and flowers and fruit, and the idea is to make your way from the bottom to the top of the level, as during the course of the level water will be rising, and you have to make sure you get to the top without being drowned. And therefore you can do this by using your only weapon, which is a rainbow. And there are sort of various things. You've got some stars there, which if you hit the stars, that will sort of deploy a load of stars across the screen, which will kill various animals and turn them into goodies or diamonds or even potions or even shoes. There's a pair of shoes to pick up, which will make you move quicker. There's some potions which will increase the size of your rainbows, which, as you will see later on, is rather important. And it's got a rather twee little soundtrack, hasn't it? It is a version of Over the Rainbow. Sort of Over the Rainbow remix, as it were. There, so you just hit one of those stars, that sort of do it. And also there's a bonus at the bottom of the screen. You see the diamonds at the bottom of the screen on the panel. On the left hand side you've got a little rainbow, which is the number of lives you have. In the middle you've got the diamond sort of tally. The idea is to complete those to get a bonus. And then obviously there's your credits in the bottom right hand corner as well. Score across the top. Again, score is not one of those things that you sort of take care and attention to. But this is a rather cute looking game on the Commodore 64, and they did a fantastic job with this conversion. In fact, you could argue that the conversion of Bubble Bobble was a great one as well, which was the sort of original game in this series. And then Parasol Stars, which was the third game that came out, and very, very few people recognise that, but there is a crackingly good version on the PC Engine Mini if you have that, or if you haven't got a PC Engine Mini and want to play Parasol Stars, that's what you'll need. And they're all great conversions and all very, very playable games. I'm not a massive platform fan, I have to say, but this was a game I really, really enjoyed playing. As I played this previously, so on the Amiga. Oh, there we go, I'm dead again. Oh, game over. Buoyant. So, didn't quite get to the end of the level, but as you can see there, the story of Bubble Bobble 2. You know, yeah, of the game series. But yes, just a fantastic series of games and very, very enjoyable to play. I think at some point I do actually pick up the power-up which gives you the second rainbow, because you'll be able to see it. There's double and triple rainbows to pick up, and like I said, as you'll see as we get on with this video, you'll get an idea of just why that was so important. Now, there's only two ways of playing this game. You can go around and try and pick up all the bonuses, all the diamonds, etc. Or you can try and do what I'm doing here and just try and get to the top as quickly as possible. For what reason? I just wanted to get the level done with and sort of get to the end. And I'm no speedrun merchant, I will give you that, but I thought it was the best concept here to try and do that. There's no denying it's a lovely looking game. Now you see that now. I've got the power up now, so you can just see now when I press fire for a rainbow, it gives me a double. And that's very, very important, because when you get to the end of the level, you will need that. And by dying, you lose it again. Story of my life, you know, ages to get it, and then, oh dear me, and then lose it again. Now see what happened here is frustratingly, I'm just trying to do this too quickly and not paying much care and attention to what I do. The fact also I'm using a quick shot joystick, which is by far and away not one of my favourite ones at all, joysticks to use. I don't have a better joystick than that for my 8-bit systems. I'd like to think I've got a better joystick than that, but I haven't. So I'm sort of left with the option of just using the quick shot or nothing else. Disappointing. But yeah, it just brings back so many memories, this game, of just playing it on the Amiga and really enjoying it. And I'm not sure if it's my old friend's copy, because I had a friend who, before he moved to Australia, bought me some games round. Now, after he moved to Australia and came back for a visit, his mum had been cleaning out their loft and had found all his old Commodore 64 stuff, so he actually brought me a load of games around. I'm not sure whether this was one of his, but I know I do have some of his games in my collection. But I seem to remember he had this as well, so it might be the one I'm talking about. But again, I don't think, having mentioned it earlier, I don't think there has been I don't think there's been a bad conversion of this game. I don't remember seeing anybody, certainly in terms of the home micro versions, really sort of saying this is a terrible, you know, this version is a terrible conversion of this game, you must not buy it, sort of that. I thought, no, this game isn't that. This game is, generally speaking, one of the very best, tidiest conversions given the limitations of the machine. I mean, even the Amiga one was almost described as arcade perfect. This isn't nowhere near arcade perfect, but I tell you something, they haven't done a bad job on this at all, have they? I'm pretty sure this was Graph Gold who did the conversion for Ocean. Interestingly enough, Ocean also did the conversion for Parasol Stars, but they didn't do the first game of the series, Bubble Bobble. That was actually came out on the Firebird label, which is really weird. Because I don't think at the time Firebird had done much in terms of the arcade conversions. Arcade conversions were very much sort of left to companies like US Gold, Ocean, Activision later on, some of the Sega stuff. But yeah, some very, very sort of, you wouldn't have thought that. You'd have thought Bubble Bobble should have been an Ocean game, really, because they had all the big games back in the day. Right, let us see if we can try and get to the top of this one. I'm determined to see if I can get there. But yeah, this was the first time I played this game, probably in about 10 years, and I think, in all fairness, the point I get to it's the same point I got to 10 years ago. I didn't get any further. But it's a nice challenge. It's not a game which is going to sort of disappoint and be incredibly frustrating. I mean, yes, some of the jumping is a little bit annoying. You can sort of get wound up in what you're trying to do, but more importantly, you tend to progress to the same point or a bit further each time. At the moment, I'm sort of on par for what I did on the first run. Just trying to get to the top and just trying to remember what I did there. There's ladybirds in the way. Oh no! But the important thing, I've still got 2 lives left, so we might be able to get to the top. There we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now this is the end of level boss. Now it's a giant spider. So he's got his power bar at the top, and as I walk straight into him, that's real clever, isn't it? The idea is you fire the rainbow at him, so this is where the double and triple rainbows come into it. I've missed him there, and now I'm not going to get out of that corner. No, there we go. So I've had a real pig's ear of that, but it gives you an idea of what I'm doing. But yeah, it's a great little game, Rainbow Island. I absolutely love this game. It really is enjoyable. Yeah, not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if that actually makes a final cut or not. Just before the end of that gameplay, there was actually a bit when for some reason, the screen went blank on my monitor. Don't know what happened to it. And for those of you who are just interested in how I'm playing these games, there's a short video on my channel which just sort of explains the setup. So we've got this plugged into a PC, got the Commodore 64 plugged into a PC via a sort of component lead, and we're recording this through OBS. All the gameplay recorded through that. So just so you're aware that there's a short video about it elsewhere on the channel. So can I recommend Rainbow Islands? Well, I certainly can do. Oh yes, this is a really, really good fun. Really, really, really fun game. And I think probably with a bit more practice, I'd sort of sit there and play it a bit longer. But I'm just trying to get a taste with these games and see how they go along. And I really, really enjoy this. I remember being a great game back in the day, but I really did enjoy this. And I really want to sit down and play it a bit more. And I remember the boss, I just couldn't remember what I had to do. And I thought, oh yes, it's much more beneficial to get multiple rainbows, isn't it? If I get multiple rainbows, it's all right. But I didn't, so there we go. But yeah, so Rainbow Islands, definitely track down a copy if you can, however you may need to do so. And like I said, this has probably got a very good reputation across all the micros of the day. Definitely worth adding to your collection if you haven't got it. Chase HQ, leave it where it is. So, the rough and the smooth, the very first episode of Commodore Corner. But there we go. Can't all be gold, can they? They cannot all be gold. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to please, that thing there, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. That'd be lovely. It'd be great to hear some feedback on this as well from you. In the meantime, until we speak to you once again, this is the Retro Bear saying bye for now. Yes, we will say bye for now. See you very, very soon. Bye for now.